You're joined now by Stephen Miller, who we hope will be in charge of the border, immigration, all of the chaos that Biden has brought to bear. Stephen Miller could help to solve in the Trump administration. And Stephen, let's just kind of start right here with the expectation that Biden is going to announce up to, I believe, what is the number? 500,000 people in the United States could have a new pathway to citizenship by virtue of being married to an American citizen. What should we know about this policy? What is not being told to us? And where do you think Biden is headed?
Well, first of all, it's going to be much larger. The White House already put out the fact sheet, and just reading the fact sheet is going to be much larger than 500,000. The 500,000 refers just to their estimate of the number of illegal aliens who have a citizen spouse who've been here for the number of years indicated. But the executive order also says that it's going to make DACA beneficiaries, if you remember that one as well, eligible for green cards. That's another 800,000. And then it says it's going to also make eligible for green cards any illegal alien who has a college degree. And as we all know, that runs the gamut. That means online universities. It means crazy socialist common universities. It means community colleges, every kind of university up and down, which from an economic standpoint, of course, is going to be an extraordinary amount of competition for young voters who are already having a hard enough time finding a job. Now they're going to have to compete against illegal alien DEI hires. So it's another gift from Joe Biden to our beleaguered young people in this country. But you add that all up, it's going to be in the millions. Then on top of that, when you get citizenship, you, of course, have the right to bring in your relatives and family members, and that's the real game here. Every illegal alien in this country is going to have at least one relative who qualifies for this. That's the whole point. And that becomes the hook to try to sponsor your whole family to become U.S. citizens using chain migration, both your family living here in the United States and your family living abroad. So it's a way to try to eventually branch out to the whole illegal alien community. But an important point on this, Congress has considered citizenship bills for illegal aliens for a quarter century, going back to the Bush administration. Every single one of those bills has failed. And most oftentimes, members of Congress who voted for those bills, who authored them and who wrote them, have seen their careers destroyed unless they're in a deep left state or deep left district. So the American people have said no to citizenship for illegal aliens for 25 years. Now our tyrant king, our senile tyrant king, Joe Biden, is saying, well, screw your legislature, screw your laws, screw your democracy, screw your Constitution, screw all the laws and rules and regulations of the United States. I'm going to make millions of illegal alien citizens. I mean, do we appreciate how breathtaking that is? I mean, the kings that we lived under as colonists did not have the powers or anything close to the powers that Joe Biden is asserting today. And he's doing it in the middle of a border invasion where we've just seen in the headlines one Biden migrant tied up two children and raped a 13-year-old girl, allegedly. Another Biden migrant allegedly committed a heinous kidnapping, beating, and murder of a Maryland mother of 5. Just in the last week, these two incidences came to light. So here's an administration that's unleashing rapists and murderers onto our citizens and unleashing carnage we could scarcely imagine a few years ago. And what are they doing now? Now they're creating a pathway to citizenship for millions of illegal aliens. If this doesn't turn millions of Democrat centrists and independents against Joe Biden, nothing will. This is a direct attack on our democracy. Joe Biden is the insurrectionist in chief. This is an insurrection against the laws and Constitution of the United States. It's criminal, it's heinous, it's egregious.
Speaking to Stephen Miller, formerly of the Trump White House and president of America First Legal. And Stephen, walk us through what you see as the political calculations that Biden is making. You've talked to us about what the implications are. And as is always the case when it comes to Democrats and illegal immigration, they're lying about what they want and they're lying about what the effects will be. How do you see Biden doing this at this phase playing out on the political side of things? And do you think that, is this a desperation ploy from him, or has this been the plan all along?
Well, the answer is both. The plan all along and desperation. I think that if they were polling as they would like to, they would have done this executive action and more like it further down the road after the election. It's a desperation play now because they're bleeding from their own coalition. This is a very important point. They wanted to be in a situation where their own coalition was intact, right? Young voters, minority voters, female voters, etc. They wanted what they see as their coalition to be intact. Obviously, female voters is a large demographic. So I mean more specifically, their historic out in 2022 with unmarried single women. They want their own coalition to be intact. It's not. So this is purely a play to their progressive base, whether it be their Hamas kids on college campuses or any other segment of their base that has been leaving them, either leaving them for further left or has been leaving them to go towards the Trump campaign. That's what this is. It's just shoring up. But it's going to backfire spectacularly because it's going to drive away, for every one voter they get, they're going to underestimate the wrath this is going to incur. They're going to drive away 5, 10x more voters. Because if you look at the polling right now, and you've seen it, you've talked about it, 63% of the country, according to CBS, wants mass deportations. Well, the exact opposite of mass deportations is mass amnesty. The exact opposite. Like, what's the exact opposite you can do deporting someone? Make them a citizen. So you are enraging, not just 63% of the country that wants mass deportations, but another 10 to 20% of the country that opposes amnesty but is probably on the fence about mass deportations. So you're alienating 70, 75% of the country easily with this executive action. So obviously the people inside the White House are very terrified that his coalition is splintering and falling apart. But as is so often the case with panic-based decision-making, it's going to hurt them massively with swing voters, centrist voters, youth voters for the reasons I just mentioned. Black voters is going to be a catastrophe. There's going to be a catastrophe with Latino voters who are going to lose their jobs and their health care to these illegal aliens. And then lastly, to the demographic I mentioned earlier, for single women who are seeing all of this migrant crime, you are going to now have Joe Biden losing that demographic too, because they're going to see more and more stories about women who are not safe in America because Joe Biden is letting rapists into the country. I wish there was a nicer way to say it, gentlemen. There is no polite way to say it. Joe Biden is letting rapists into the country, and that is going to be cyanide for him with all voters, but particularly with female voters.
How quickly, let's talk positive here for a minute with you, Stephen. Let's say Trump is elected. You come in and you're involved in a significant way in fixing the situation at the border. How quickly can the border situation be fixed relative to where it is now, and what would those steps need to look like?
Well, first of all, as soon as Donald Trump were to win, the word would immediately go out to the world, the border is going to be closed in January. So as soon as you take office, before you even put the first pen stroke to any executive action, just the knowledge that Donald Trump is in the White House is going to send border numbers down right off the bat. Probably, I mean, don't hold me to this number, but probably something like 70, 80%, just right off the bat. Because cartels are going to be scared, and illegal aliens are going to be deeply worried about what's going to happen. Then once you start putting in place all the tools and strategies that we've discussed, Title 42, remain in Mexico, safe third agreements, categorical asylum bans, rapid deportations, and then you begin the interior removals, you're going to see those numbers plummet, of course, even lower. Catch and release is going to be ended, and you're going to be able to shift your resources and your energy to institutionalizing those interior removal operations. In other words, as the numbers get lower and lower on the border, you can reassign ICE, Border Patrol, CBP, customs officers to supporting interior removal operations. And so those numbers are going to scale up. And then as people in home countries see people who arrived years ago, now going back, it's going to have a massive chilling effect on people even being willing to attempt the journey. In other words, when you're living in a community, in a country, and you see an illegal alien come back, and it's like, that guy left 4 years ago, and now he's back here, you're not even going to bother with it. So it creates what they call a virtuous cycle. Every additional deportation becomes an additional discouragement to somebody else to cross. So, yes, it's a gargantuan, Leviathan effort, but when you have a president who's actually committed to repelling the invasion and restoring American sovereignty, you will be shocked at the speed and efficiency with which things can be turned around.
Stephen, to that end, there are people, even on the right, a few at least, that I've seen who have real doubts that the president will have the follow through on this one this time around, particularly in the issue of illegal immigration, deportations, and the interior enforcement you spoke of. You know the man, and you were involved with him obviously in term one. Can you just speak to, can we count on Trump to do it this time?
1,000,000%. First of all, and we've talked about this before, but people think they know just how much we did in the first term. They don't even know how much we did in the first term in terms of how extraordinarily locked down that border was, tighter than a submarine hatch. We had 0 releases in the year 2020. We beat the Ninth Circuit, we beat the ACLU, we beat the Democrats, we beat the radical left. We put in place the most robust suite of enforcement tools that this country, I don't think this country's ever seen. No country in the entire Western world had what we had. No country in the Western world, not Australia, not France, not the United Kingdom, not Germany, not Poland, not even Hungary. No country in the Western world had what we had, and yet we're the only country in the Western world that shares a 2,000-mile border with a developing country that's a gateway to another 150 countries. So what we did in the first term, and what President Trump did in the first term, is astonishing. What he will do in a second term will be even more astonishing. And yes, I know him very well, not just in the last 8 years, but also just recently having many conversations with him about his immigration plans for the second term. And I will just say to you that you will respond to what will happen with unbridled glee. If we win, these will be the greatest days of your lives. You will wake up every morning so excited to get out of bed, to see what's happening on the border, to see what's happening with immigration enforcement. You'll set your alarm clock 2 hours earlier every morning just to get 2 more hours of daylight to watch the deportation flights happening. That's how excited you'll be. That's how wonderful this will be.
Wow. Stephen Miller with us. Last question for you. By the way, belated Happy Father's Day. I know that you are a proud dad, as am I. Do you have any you're very serious on the border, and we want you to absolutely dominate there. But you also like pop culture, which is going to surprise some people. Do you have any viewing suggestions to our listeners out there as they are officially into summer season? What are you consuming? Do you watch House of the Dragon? Do you watch any of these new shows that are out there, or what would you suggest old school that people try out?
I just started watching the new Jake Gyllenhaal vehicle. I cannot, for the life of me, remember the name. I think it's Presumed Innocent. I just started watching it. Now,
yes.
Viewer discretion warning. This is not a family show. Do not, under any circumstances, watch the show with your minor children. This is not family entertainment. We've talked a lot in the past about family shows.
Yes.
The first 2 episodes are promising. I'll tell you how I feel after another couple episodes. The first 2 episodes are promising. If you're interested in sort of moody environmental murder mysteries, this is a show for you. If you're easily upset by this kind of content, then definitely don't watch it.
I've heard it's good. Have you heard that, Buck? The new Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal? I know it's out. I haven't seen any of it yet.
Carrie and I started watching it. I think she fell asleep, but that doesn't mean anything because she just sometimes falls asleep on my shoulder when we're watching things. I've been trying to watch Shogun for whatever that's worth.
I heard that was good. What do you think? Like Game of Thrones basically set in Japan is what I was told.
It's called Shogun just to see. You have me hooked to the word Shogun. So just the fact that it's called Shogun, I'll give it a chance. I'm very into all things samurai. But I heard that show's good. I heard Shogun's good. I like Presumed Innocent so far. And I want to watch Dark Matter. I've also heard great things about that, but I haven't started watching it yet.
I did. Stephen, you'll be proud of me, actually. My wife, we were looking to watch something last weekend, or 2 weekends ago, and I said, "Hey, honey, this is a classic. Just trust me on this one." And we started watching Roadhouse, and about half an hour in, I'm like, "Oh gosh, is this working?" And she's like, "This is great. We have to finish it." Yes.
Okay, so if you want a throwback movie reference to end this interview with, movie you probably haven't seen in a long time, that your audience probably forgot they ever saw, but it's one of the most underappreciated genius films of the 90s, Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Go watch it again if you haven't seen it. He should get an Oscar for that performance.
Wow. I've seen it, but I have no recollection. When you just mentioned it, I can't even think anything about the plot line or anything associated with it.
Yeah, it's a Harold Ramis film of Ghostbusters and Groundhog Day and Animal Shack and all that. And it's one of the lesser noticed movies that he did. But Michael Keaton is pure comedic genius in that film. Pure genius.
Awesome. Stephen Miller
Check it
is going to
out.
fix the border, and also he's got incredible pop culture recommendations for all of you. We'll talk to you again soon, my man.
Thank you. Talk soon.
You know, we were just talking about how quickly we get things solved at the border. You know what would solve things at the border in a hurry? Testosterone. Actually having testosterone in the Biden White House. You see the Juneteenth video? We were talking about this earlier that went viral. I was up in D.C. for that last week, and I was walking around, and I was with my 16-year-old, and he said, "Do you think Joe Biden's still awake?" It was about 10 o'clock at night. I said, "No, I don't think he has the energy to still be awake," and that's unfortunate. Maybe some of you feel like Joe Biden sometimes. Maybe you don't have the energy, the vim, the vigor, the vitality that you've had in your past. That's why you need Chalk. They will hook you up. Get testosterone back into your life with the Chalk Male Vitality Stack. Men's bodies producing less testosterone as we age. I saw this as a headline on the Drudge Report earlier this week. It's real. The number of men out there, their testosterone levels, they have collapsed, and they can't figure out exactly why, but the average man has half the testosterone that your grandfather and great-grandfather had. How much difference could that make in your life? A tremendous one. All you have to do is go to CHOQ.com. Use my name as the promo code. That's chalk.com, CHOQ. Want you to check out and subscribe. Best possible subscription deals, and maybe you're not out there right now thinking, hey, I want to go onto the internet. Chalk.com, great place. You can also call them. 50-CHALK-3000. That's 50-CHOQ-3000. U.S.-based customer service representatives to take your calls. Again, type it in right now on your phone. 50-CHOQ-3000. That's 50-CHOQ-3000. Call. Check out the website today.